Kyle Pounds update, February 23rd, 2016. Kyle Pounds has uploaded new clips. He does it almost every day. And a while ago, he told his viewers that he is working on a Google Earth, his Google Earth project. And I was wondering what's that all about. Sounds interesting. In his latest video, he showed his viewers what he's actually is doing, and it's quite interesting. Usually I like to make fun out of Kyle Pounds, but now I really consider him to be an intellectual because of his Google Earth project. And the thing is, you know, Google Earth, I think Google Earth has been on the internet for maybe 10 years or so, maybe 7. But it's Google Maps. You have a map and you see the Earth. In Google Earth, you see a 3-dimensional map. So it's very interesting. And recently, you could even see the buildings of a city and what they look like in the map. And you even have a flight simulator, so you can fly in Google Earth. And what Kyle Pounds is doing is extremely interesting because he is actually recreating history in Google Earth. He found maps in the library where he lives, so he found historical maps of his home city, which is Boulder, Colorado. It's an old mining town where Buffalo Bill used to live, and so he is actually transferring these old maps into Google Earth. So you can see where the old mining towns used to be and what they looked like, and you can see what it looked like in Boulder, Colorado 100 years ago. And I think this is really a groundbreaking project that he has, because I think maybe Google Earth, maybe Google the company, will introduce this type of feature in Google Earth in their maps. Maybe in the future you could go to Google Maps, Google Earth, and you can actually write a year in history or a date, and you can go into their 3D maps and you can see what your hometown looked like 100 years ago, and or even go to ancient Rome and you will see what that looked like. It's intriguing, and maybe it will be like that one day. So, as you say, kudos to Kyle Pounds. I encourage the great Kyle Pounds to continue his fascinating, groundbreaking Google Earth project, because I want to see what the buildings looked like in cities all over the world for 100 years ago. So what else is Kyle Pounds planning? He said that he's going to talk about the Swedish immigration into North America in the 1800s, and that's an interesting topic. I happen to know a great deal about that because I saw the movie The Immigrants, which is a movie that aired in 1970 or so. The premiere was in 1970, I think. And it depicts the life of an immigrant family who moved from rural Sweden to North America, and it's very realistic. So the immigration started out, back in America, during the 1600s, the Pilgrims came, and the first ship with immigrants, the Mayflower, arrived there in the 1600s or so. I'm not an expert on that part of the immigration to North America, but the Swedish immigration started out in the 1860s or so. There were several waves of immigration to North America from Sweden and Ireland and Germany and other countries. And what was the reason for this mass immigration? First of all, historians talk about the push-pull effect, meaning that the people in Sweden, they lived under poor conditions. They were poor people due to several reasons. As I said, bad harvest, religious oppression, and the class society. So, most people, they were farmers and tried to make a living out of the land. And when that didn't work, they were starving. So, and they've heard about America, because in America things were different. There was access to land, so people something that they called the Homestead Act, that the government gave away land for free, so anyone could settle on a certain piece of land, and assuming that they cultivated the land, that they grew crops or something, built themselves a home, they were allowed to stay there, and after a couple of years they would receive a title. They would be owners of that property for free. So this was a great opportunity for the poor peasants in Sweden. They heard about this El Dorado, these this possibility to live a better life. Of course, there was an obstacle, and that was the great Atlantic Ocean. They had to get there somewhere, and that trip on a vessel, to cross the Atlantic, that would take up to a month, probably. It's not like an 8-hour flight. Things were different back then, regarding transport. So they had to, and those tickets, those were very expensive. It's not like today, a flight ticket, which costs less than maybe $500 or so. I don't know exactly, because I don't fly. But back then, people had to sell their homes in order to afford a ticket on an ocean liner. So people they gave up their life in Sweden, and they boarded the ship, and they went to America, and they were given away. The government gave them this free land. They started a new life, but okay, in Sweden they had a religious oppression. They had this, religious police that came to their homes and verified that they knew the Bible, and they believed in Jesus. It was very important, and the nobility had a lot of power in Sweden. So it was, if you were a farmer, born in a farmer's family, you would become a farmer, and you would live like that for all your life. No way to improve your life in Sweden, and land was hard to come by. It was very expensive. But in America, land was free. The land of the free, land of possibilities. In America, you can be whoever you want. Most Swedish immigrants, some of them went to the cities, found work in the factories, but most, I would say the majority of immigrants, they went to the Midwest, to states like Wisconsin and Minnesota. And And the traditions of Swedish immigrants live to this day, live on. I mean, they eat lutefisk, and they, they have some traditions of Scandinavian traditions. I mean, in their, although they are Americans, Swedish Americans. Today, immigration from Sweden to America is not like it used to be. A few people emigrate to America nowadays because we don't have to emigrate. Unless you are a professional hockey player, you want to play in the NHL, or if you are a golfer, maybe you could emigrate to America, make a lot of money because we have higher taxes here. If you're successful in business, if you're computer programmer, maybe it's a good choice to immigrate to America. But if you're like someone like me, an average Joe, you wouldn't emigrate because there is no use. I live better here than I would do in America. Maybe if I was living in the 19th century, in the 1800s, I would emigrate. I would work at the farm. But today I live way much better here because I have free health care. I could go to the university and study. It doesn't cost a lot of what I'm saying, advantages to live in Sweden compared to America. And America's dangerous too. A lot of violence and school shootings, things like that. No, I wouldn't go there as an immigrant. Maybe as a tourist, but not as an immigrant. And now I'm waiting for Carl Panz's video about the Scandinavian Swedish immigration to North America. Okay. Auf Wiedersehen and goodbye, au revoir, до свидания, my dear viewers.